Lesson 3-2, Solving Addition and Subtraction Equations. By the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to solve addition and subtraction equations. I'm going to show you one way to solve addition and subtraction equations. It's one of the ways that I found to be more successful with students. This is by no means the only way to do it, but I've found the most success with students using this method. So what I've designed is 3 problem-solving questions. So in other words, when you're going to solve equations, these are the 3 questions that you should ask yourself. What number is on the same side as the equal sign as the variable? What operation is going on and what is its opposite? And what number are you going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide from each side? So let me show you how this works. Here we have an equation. This is the kind of equations that we're going to be solving today because it has an addition sign here, or we're going to be solving ones that have a subtraction sign here. So the first question is, what number is on the same side of the equal sign as the variable? So here's the variable x, and here's the 5 right here. It's on the same side of the equal sign as the variable. So the question to the first question, the answer to the first question is 5. Our second question is, what operation is going on with that number and what is its opposite? So in other words, what operation is going on with this 5? Just so you know, the operation that's going on with the number is always the operation right in front of it. So that means I'm going to look in front of the 5 and see that I'm adding. And the second part of that question is, what is the opposite of it? So in other words, what's the opposite of addition? The opposite of addition is subtraction. Just so you know, the opposite of multiplication is division. But we'll get to multiplication and division problems in future lessons. But for today, the opposite of addition is subtraction. So the third question is, so what number are you going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide from each side? You're going to know which one of these 4 operations to do from question number 2, and you're going to know what number you're going to be using from question number 1. So we're going to end up subtracting 5 from both sides, because whatever we do on one side of the equal sign, we're going to do to the other. So what you're going to do is you're going to subtract 5 here, and you're going to subtract 5 from this side over here. I'm showing that I'm going to be subtracting 5 from both sides. Well, positive 5 minus 5, that ends up canceling out. That ends up being 0, which is exactly what we want to happen. So I'm going to cross those out. And the only thing left on this side of the equal sign is the x. So I'm going to bring it right down. Then I'm going to bring the equal sign down. And then I'm going to go 8 minus 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. That means in our equation, x has to be equal to 3. And I'll show you how to check it. What you're going to end up doing is, since we now think that x is equal to 3, we're going to use substitution, and anywhere we see x up here in the original equation, we're going to substitute 3 to see if it works. So 3 plus 5 equals 8. That's our equation. And 3 plus 5 is 8 equals, and we're going to bring the equal sign down and bring the 8 down. And 8 is equal to 8. That's a true statement. This is true. That means that our answer, x equals 3, must be the right answer. Let's give this a try with a few more examples. So I've put the questions that we're going to ask ourselves up here at the top, and here's the equation that we're going to look at. Negative 3 equals a plus 4. Just so you know, a lot of students get confused because they think that this equation is set up backwards because they're used to the a plus 4 being on the left and the negative 3 being on the right. There isn't one right way to write equations in algebra, so this is an absolutely acceptable way to write them. And that's one of the reasons why I selected this example. So the first question is, what number is on the same side as the equal sign as the variable? So here's the variable a. And on the same side of the equal sign, I see a 4. So that's the answer to question number 1, 4. What operation is going on with that number, and what's the opposite of it? Well, I'm going to look in front of the 4, and I see a plus sign, and the opposite of that is subtraction. So the last question, what number you're going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide from both sides? You're going to subtract 4 from both sides, because I got subtract here for question number 2, and I got 4 here with question number 1. So I'm going to show that by going minus 4 here. And remember, whatever we do on one side of the equal sign, we're going to do on both sides of the equal sign. These two 4's are going to end up canceling out because 4 minus 4 ends up being 0, and that's exactly what we want to happen. So the only thing on this side of the equal sign that we have now is A. And now you're always going to read these going down. We have negative 3 minus 4. So it looks like this, negative 3 minus 4. One of my previous lessons, I taught you how to subtract integers, and I had the little phrase same, add, opposite. So in other words, you're going to keep this first number the same. We're going to change the subtraction sign to addition, and we're going to change the 4 to its opposite, which is negative 4. And then you're going to add them together. So negative 3 plus negative 4 is negative 7. So that means we're going to get negative 7 right here. And again, if we want to check this, anywhere that you see A, you can now put negative 7 in the equation. So let's give it a try. Negative 3 equals negative 7 plus 4. Negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. And look, we have negative 3 on this side of the equal sign. That means that this works out because negative 3 is equal to negative 3. So that means this right here has to be the answer. Let's give a couple more try. Here's our equation. X minus 2 equals 1. What number is on the same side of the equal sign with the variable? 2 is on the same side. What operation is going on and what is its opposite? Well, we're subtracting, so the opposite of that is addition. What number you're going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide from both sides? That means that you're going to add 2 to both sides. Minus 2 plus 2 ends up canceling out. We end up getting 0. So the only thing left on the left side of the equal sign is x. And now we have 1 plus 2 is 3. Let's go back and check. Anywhere we see x, we can substitute in 3. So that means we'll have 3 minus 2 equals 1. 3 minus 2 is 1, and that's equal to 1. This is a true statement. 1 does equal 1. So that means right here, x equals 3 must be the answer. Here's another example for us. Q minus 8 equals negative 9. What number is on the same side as the equal sign as the variable? Let's see. 8 is on the same side. What operation is going on and what is its opposite? We're subtracting, and the opposite of that is addition. What number are you going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide from each side? You're going to add 8 to both sides. Notice that I'm lining the adding 8 underneath the 9 here, and I'm lining up the 8 underneath this 8 here. These two things cancel out, so you're left with Q is equal to negative 9 plus 8 is negative 1. And we can go back and check this. Anywhere you see Q, you can now put negative 1. So negative 1 minus 8 equals negative 9. This is subtraction, so I'm going to change it to addition by doing same, add, opposite. So the first number is going to stay the same. I'm going to change my subtraction to addition, and I'm going to change my 8 to its opposite, which is negative 8. And now negative 1 plus negative 8 is negative 9. And negative 9 really is equal to negative 9, so that statement is true. So that means up here, we have the right answer. Here's the last example that we're going to do today. What number is on the same side as the equal sign as the variable? Well, the 6 is. What operation is going on with that number and what's the opposite of that? I'm going to look in front of the 6 and I see an addition sign. The opposite of addition is subtraction. So what number are you going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide from each side? I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. These two cancel out. They equal 0. So I'm going to bring the x down. 4 minus 6. 4 minus 6, we can change that to addition by going same, add, opposite. 4 plus negative 6 is negative 2. And now, if we want to, we can go back and check this, where anywhere we see x, we can substitute in negative 2. So negative 2 plus 6 equals 4. And negative 2 plus 6 is 4. And there we have a true statement. 4 is equal to 4. So that means that this right here is our answer. So as long as you ask yourself these 3 questions, you'll be able to work through any sort of equation and solve for the variable. As I mentioned earlier in the video, this isn't the only way to do it, but it's one of the ways that I've had the most success with students is through these 3 questions.